Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Digital Nomad World Weekly Lecture. I'm Becca and I'm your host today, and I'm going to be speaking with Graham from Nextstand.
Hello.
And he's going to be talking to us about everything to do with the correct posture and the perfect workspace, which I think is going to be great for digital nomads because we're always on the go and it can be difficult to kind of find the perfect way to have your laptop. And yeah, so he's going to tell us everything about Nextstand. So welcome, Graham.
Thank you very much for inviting me. It's good to be here.
Thank you for joining. I'm going to start by just asking you to tell us a little bit about yourself. Obviously, I've spoken with you, so I know a bit of your background, but yeah, can you just give us a little introduction about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so my name's Graham Cave, and for my sins, I've been a workplace assessor for more years than I can care to count, so over 20 odd years. And what does a workplace assessor do? That means you typically work on contracts with large corporates, going from office to office or location hub to location hub, dealing with issues that have arisen from members of staff who are struggling with either physical conditions, predominantly sort of back, neck conditions or musculoskeletal conditions, through to people dealing with mental health conditions or people that had specific learning difficulties like dyslexia, dyscalculia, etc., who needed adjustments to help them as well within the workplace. And that's what I've been doing up until recently. And now I'm here on behalf of Nextstand, working with them, and I help Nextstand to talk about these things, talk about the need for getting your posture right whenever you're working, wherever it is you're working.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I think we kind of, I don't know, it can be very easy just to go into the workspace and not even think about where you're working from and the importance of it. So I guess now you've given us a little bit of background of what you specialize in. Can you tell us about Nextstand and what it is?
Yeah, well, Nextstand is a group of products, predominantly laptop accessories. The key product is the K2. This is their flagship product. Let me show you it here. And these are products that are designed to help people work comfortably wherever they are. And that, I think that the key is with Nextstand products, that's exactly what it is. Obviously, if you work within a set position within an office, you may have access to a desk, a set position every time, your work chair, etc. But as we've moved into a more modern world, I'd like to think that, the pandemic's given us all a little bit of a kick. And, people are now talking about things like remote working, hybrid working from home. It's going to become more and more the case that people will work in different places. And therefore, actually, if you think about it, can we necessarily give people the adaptions that they need in order to work safely that we used to before? Because I don't know about you, but you're not going to, you said you're in Haywards Heath today. You might be in Brighton tomorrow. Are you going to lump a 6-foot desk with you and a chair with you, etc.? No. So the majority of people are working off laptops or portable devices, and they need to be able to take their workstation with them, and that's what Nextstand's all about. So items like this can slip into a bag very easily, ta-da, just like that. And then there's a stand there that you can put your laptop in and will raise the screen of the laptop to a height which means that you're not leaning over, hunching when you're working, and you can find a suitable place to work with a separate keyboard and mouse, and away you go.
So I guess you said you offer other products as well, which maybe we can get into in a minute, but can you, I guess, tell us a little bit about where the design came from and kind of the benefits of using that like on your desk, like I guess because you'd use a portable keyboard and mouse with it, right?
Yeah. Well, I guess in terms of the evolution, if you like, of laptop stands, let's talk about that and where the design came from. It was trying to find a design that was both portable and actually raised the height of the screen to the right level. And if you think about actually where some products are still in the market today, they are literally a block that sits underneath your laptop and lifts it up, which is fine from maybe from the height raising point of view, but isn't fine from the portability point of view. So the whole idea of that kind of scissor action there was to take something that was quite small as a footprint and allow it to expand out a bit like an expanding bridge, to enable the laptop to be sitting high when it's being used, but then enabling that to be very lightweight and portable when you want to slip it into your bag and go. So, I mean, funnily enough, we've just written a whole load of posts for social media about the fact that this is not actually new technology in a way. The idea of having a technology in place that stopped you sitting with your head down and hunching over something has been around for years. If you look at old pictures of monks working in their vestries, etc., that they had these sloping desks to write on parchment. They didn't write on things flat. The same with, old school desks weren't flat as well. Do you know what changed all of that? Do you know what changed it?
No.
The invention of computers. So as technology came in, we started to accommodate in our furniture the IT more than we did the humans, to stop things from slipping off desks and to keep your laptop safe, if you like. We made everything flat, but with it, we all started to hunch. So, what we're doing really is actually going back in time with a modern solution for the modern problem. The modern problem now, and it very much is a modern problem, is that people use laptops predominantly. When I first started out in the business world, hardly anybody had a laptop. Everybody had a desktop computer because laptops were phenomenally expensive. They were only for the very few people. Now the majority of the machines that are brought out there are laptops or tablet devices, and so that's what people are working on, that's what people are using, but they're not using them. The majority still do not use them out of the office situation with any kind of adjustment, and it's wrong.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's quite tempting to just sit on the sofa and use. I mean, I'm guilty of that. I'll get my laptop out if I'm taking a train or sitting anywhere, and I guess you don't really always think about how that's having an impact on your posture.
Yeah,
because it's more kind of convenience.
It's a cultural thing as well. I mean, if Nextstand have done a set of adverts recently, or social posts again recently, where quite shockingly, we looked at cigarette advertising in the past. Once upon a time, cigarettes were advertised by small babies with cigarettes in their mouth, or doctors smoking a cigarette, or even, I think there's one gone out on LinkedIn this week with Father Christmas smoking a cigarette. Now, you just would not even compute that these days, because we know what the effects of smoking are on people's health, and we've come to realize that it's not, all of that's socially unacceptable, and advertising that as a health product is definitely unacceptable. And one of the things that we're really trying to do is call on every company as well, if you want to make a difference to your culture in terms of the health and well-being of your people, to start thinking about the messages that you're, the subliminal, if you like, messages that you're putting out there. So every time you create a post and you put a photo out there of someone, you know, with a stock imagery of someone sitting there lying down like this on a sofa using a computer, or just slouching around using a laptop on your lap or whatever with their head down, you're giving people this idea that that's okay, but it really isn't. From a health perspective, it really isn't. So we'd love to see it. You know, people go, no, we're going to actually start to use proper imagery for laptops, where laptops are in a laptop stand and people are working properly, so that, you know, people start to get the message. And, you know, it needs people at the tops of companies to start doing that right, and filter it all the way down and say, this is how we work. Might take you a minute or two longer to set up, but ultimately, if it means that you're not going to be off work for half a year with a bad back, what have you lost in terms of time? What have you lost in terms of productivity, if actually you're comfortable and you haven't got backache or neckache?
Yeah, I think it definitely takes everyone to kind of come together, and especially, like you mentioned, pictures online. I think especially within the digital nomad community, where people are working from really like beautiful and exotic places, you see a lot of photos floating around of people working in, I don't even know if they're working, but they're really beautiful pictures.
And do you know what? I've spoken to some of those people, and, you know, and it's fascinating the conversation that you have, because they start off and you go, yeah, do you know what? That's a great photo that you just posted. You know, you're sat by the edge of the pool and you've got your laptop there and you're working away or whatever. I said, but you know, what a dreadful position to be not what's in front of you. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
But in terms of your posture, what a dreadful posture to be sat in all day long. And when you start to speak to those people, they say, well, actually, I am getting neckache. You know, this is not. So what's the point of being in paradise if you're in pain in paradise? You know, it takes nothing really to get that right. And the more that we show people, as I say, that there is a right way to do this, and this is where the cool guys are at. This is where the cool kids are hanging out when they're working this way. You do it this way. That's when we start to make a difference.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess that kind of sums up the product that you have on offer to help with like neck pains and with the like screen being in a good position. What other products does Nextstand offer to kind of help, and what are they trying to combat? Which other like things what common problems do you see?
Yeah, sure. Well, just to finish off on that one. So obviously, because this is another sort of modern mythology, if you like, which is that if you use a laptop stand and you raise the laptop up in the laptop stand, you can then just type directly onto the keyboard of the laptop. The answer to that is no. And actually, there's some really awful laptop stands out there that literally just tilt the angle of the keyboard, but don't really lift the screen high enough.
Okay.
And actually, you could still type onto that, but actually, you'd probably end up hurting your wrists as well, because you've then got not just the screen at the wrong height, but you've also got overflexed wrists as well, so overextended wrist flexing. So they do a full remote working kit under the base 12 sign, and that will have a mini keyboard in it, and there's a mouse in there as well. So if you want the whole caboodle, that all fits in one easy to carry little kit, and that overcomes that issue. But here's another one for you. All right, and this is something we all do. You get your ergonomic right, if you like, in terms of working with a keyboard and a mouse, right? So you've got your laptop raised up, you've got your keyboard and your mouse there, you're sitting up well, and then what happens? The phone goes off, buzzes, yeah, and you're typically then going to check the phone for your email or whatever. So you're working away, and then you go like this, and then you're back again, and then just look at that. Yeah, and your head's down again for hours and hours. Or, phones are getting bigger again now, right? They're actually, a lot of them are getting bigger. So it may be that some information comes in on your phone and you want to actually reference that whilst you're doing work on the computer, but you put your phone by the side of the desk and you're kind of down there like that, and you're typing and you're down. So one of the other products, great little products that's done, is this one. And this is a tablet stroke phone device that actually lifts the height of your phone. Look at that. Easy.
Cool.
With a little tilt as well. Also, it's great for if you get yourself a tray for the bath. It's great for reading books in the bath. Yeah. Just don't drop your phone. But so it's telescopic in height, and then when you finish with it, folds away into your bag. Jobs are good again. So that's another one, because, and I've actually found that incredibly useful, because I will use a laptop when I'm out, and therefore I'll use a laptop stand, etc., and separate keyboard and mouse when I'm out and about. When I'm in my office where I work, I use an iMac. So I don't need a laptop stand for an iMac. It's obviously, I can raise that to the right height. I've got a razor in fact, I've got a sit-stand desk for that. But what I do is I use this constantly throughout the day, because I do put that with the phone right next to my screen. And if there's anything I need to refer to, WhatsApp messages coming in from clients or whatever, then they're there. And I'm not looking down to the side. I'm not doing this to do them. And, especially as now a lot of the app technology is working between your phone and the desktop. What you can do is you can see it coming in there, and you can just pull it across and put it onto your desktop, and you're away. But there's no need for your neck to be down there. So that's a good one. And then last year they launched a new product, which is a sunshade for your laptop. Now that's quite exciting for all of you remote workers out there. I'm going to open this curtain slightly now, because when I started this, it was too bright, but now it's too dark. I need a little bit more light on this subject. But that's brilliant, because it will go right over the top of the laptop. It will work with the K2 as well. So even with the laptop on the K2, that will sit inside this shade. And if you're doing graphics type work, if you're out and about as a freelancer and you're doing graphics type work, and you're having to focus on color palettes or looking at photography or things like that, obviously with any kind of sun coming up directly onto your screen, that becomes really, really difficult. So you can now go to the Nextstand website and buy yourself a tent for your laptop.
That's also great for overheating as well. There's been a few times where I've been outside working because it's really nice and sunny, but you kind of forget that your laptop can't always be in the sun.
Well, yeah, overheating is a massive problem. It can sort of ruin your battery life as well if the machine starts to overheat. And that's, again, it's another reason, going back to the design of this, it's another reason why this works as a design, because where the laptop sits into here, so the keyboard element is over this bottom bit, and then the screen's up here. Obviously, the whole of the back of it, there's nothing there. So it means that there's proper circulation all the way around. And again, over the years, there's been quite a few laptop stands where actually you're putting it back onto a flat surface again, where all of the fans are then covered up. So there's no proper circulation there. Glad you mentioned the heat.
Yeah, well, it's something I've experienced with mine, and I don't know, having a little sunshade sounds great, because then you can enjoy being outside, but you also don't have to worry about your technology overheating. So we've started getting in a few questions, if you're happy for me to
Yeah,
ask them,
absolutely.
please. The first one is, so what is the correct posture to work if there is only one in terms of your neck, your back, or your wrists?
There's never one posture. All right. So there are postures which are more neutral, but don't ever think there's only one posture. So going a little bit back against what I said earlier, you know, if you see people sort of leaning or whatever, working with a laptop on a sofa for 5 minutes or so, that's fine if it's for a few minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But prolonged postures where there's more weight loading on the either on muscle groups or on the intervertebral discs in the spine that is you know, going to cause them damage, is where you're going to have the problems. So obviously if you're sitting in a hunch posture, your head weighs the same as about 5.5 bags of sugar.
Wow.
Right, so think 5.5 kilo bags of sugar. That's how much your head weighs. So as you start to bring your head forward on your spine, you'll start to put pressure on your cervical spine, the part of your spine in your neck, and that in turn will also cause you to slouch in your lower spine, because the spine will try and compensate. So the best kind of postures are typically kind of 90-degree angles, but not static. Okay. And that's where I say it's not a posture, because dynamic postures or active postures are better for you. And that's where, you know, alongside the getting your posture more lifted with your shoulders back so that you can breathe better, and your head and neck in a more neutral position here, it's also important that you get up regularly to move. It's also important that you go for a walk every now and again. You know, it's also important that you actually flex all of your muscle groups. So sitting down all day is not good for you. Standing up all day is not good for you. So variation's good. Yeah. But there are postures where slouched postures, hunched postures, where there are more problems that will be created if you sit in those postures for any length of time.
Yeah, I think that's something that, especially if you're working and you're really like in the zone, it's difficult to remember to move about and to kind of have those motions.
Yeah. Set breaks.
Yeah, that's a great idea, actually.
Yeah, but also think about task management throughout the day as well. You know, maybe just break out. You know, if you set your diary for the day, if you can put breaks in there, but also just think about, are there different things that I need to do during the day that can be done in different ways? So, for example, think about those Zoom meetings or whatever. It might be if you're playing a less active role in terms of necessarily typing or whatever in a Zoom meeting, you could do that standing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, you know, maybe think about, you know, you've got a block of work in the morning where it's a thing that you're doing where you have to focus more, and you find it easier to focus when you're sitting down. So that's true for a lot of people. Well, if that's the case, maybe, you know, build in a 2-hour block of you doing that, but then go, well, do you know what I'm going to do? You know, I'm going to put in my Zoom meeting in there to split this up. And when I do my Zoom meeting, I'm going to stand to do that. I'm going to find a higher surface to work on with my Nextstand, obviously. And then, you know, make sure that I'm doing that. You know, maybe building a telephone. If you know, it's all right to actually have a telephone call with people sometimes. You know, so where it doesn't have to be a Zoom meeting, or you're not taking notes, maybe you can even do that walking.
Yeah, that's really good tips. And actually that leads in quite nicely to our next question. The question is, what about standing desks? Why are they considered better than sitting?
They're not. That's the truth.
That's good to know.
Marketing will tell you that it's considered better than sitting. There is science that says that from a heart life point of view, it is better for your circulatory system, etc., and from your heart. to stand up than it is to sit all day. But ultimately, there are a lot of people that have a lot of problems with their muscles as well. There's a lot of people that struggle with particular muscle wastage or weakness conditions, or things like chronic fatigue syndrome or MS or things like that, who will struggle to stand up all day as well. So the same thing applies with standing desks. Great, if you can afford a standing desk, please by all means get one, but don't just necessarily stand at it all day. And it also might be that you can't focus in the same way when you're standing as you can when you're sitting. So you've really got to understand the way that you work as well as what your body needs. And if you can put all of those things together and go, I can do this task standing, then build that in. You know, over the years, the amount of people I saw who had been given a sit-stand desk, and all they did was use the height adjustment on it to adjust the height that they were sat at.
Okay.
Right. But what they or they stood at it all day long, and then had problems as well. What they didn't do was they didn't think about a structured routine. They didn't think about going, do you know what, I'm going to stand to do this, and I'm going to sit to do that, and I'm going to move away from the desk area completely, and I'm going to go and do that. It didn't build a routine throughout the day. That's the important thing. And
I guess the routine allows you to vary your position and posture, which ultimately will help.
Yeah, so standing desk will help you to vary your posture. It will give you another way of working. If you've got the right kind of chair that can go high enough, go higher than a standard sitting position, you might even be able to perch at it, so you can put another addition in there as well. In fact, you can get some chairs that actually allow you to perch and tilt the ankle more. So, you know, the more adjustment there is, the more adjustability you can have in the way that you work. But getting back to remote working, who's going to take a stand desk?
Yeah, I guess it's kind of dependent on your situation as well. So the smaller things you can do are going to be the most beneficial, I guess.
Yeah, and ultimately I guess that's why, you know, when it comes down to it, this kind of adjustable kit that you can take anywhere with you is probably your priority.
Yeah.
Okay, because that gives you a better ergonomic wherever you are. Even when you're at home, sitting wherever it is, suddenly if you've got to move out to the kitchen, you can get a better work environment. If it's a nice sunny day suddenly and you need to work outside, you can get a better work environment. You know, it's the other things are far more static, which is great, but how long, you know, how often are you there?
Yeah. We have another question in. What is the future of ergonomic technology? Are there any more advances that can be done?
Well, there's a lot of advances in ergonomic technology, and surprisingly, some of them won't be where you think they are. It won't all be around furniture. It may not all be around ergonomic accessories either. So certainly, I guess one of the things that's an ergonomic solution going forward, and we're already beginning to see more of, is AI. And the sort of things that I'm talking about there are building in speech to text technology into pretty much everything. You now know that you can speak to Google on your phone and it understands what you're saying and it will do that lookup. But that sort of technology is already beginning to be there in some of the note application apps, for example, which means that, again, you know, thinking about breaking up your workflow during the day, are there things that you can do where you can say, oh right, I'm gonna go walk for a minute or two, I'm just going to talk to my phone, I'm gonna you know, talk about this, that and the other, and when you get back to your computer you can upload your ideas and then start working on them as a set of concepts that, you know, you can put into emails or anything else. So that's something that will really help. I think ergonomics is going to help incredibly in some manual work. particularly. I think in terms of ecoskeletons, etc., wearable skeletons that are going to help with things like heavy lifting or repetitive work in shops and stuff like that, where people are manual handling all of the time, because it will reduce the strain on the body and ensure that people are doing it properly. And another one is going to be AI around, again, around things like shops. It will reduce just a way that AI or work, it's just the way that AI can reduce some repetitive tasks.
Okay.
So I think where we start to see AI going, right, this grunt work that you need to do, where you're cutting and pasting that and you're doing it over and over again. I've now learned that you're doing that 100 times in the last hour. I'll now be able to do that bit for you, so you don't have to do that anymore. That reduces the amount of clicks that you're doing there. So actually I'll just get on and do that for you. I'll leave you to be able to do something else instead. But I'm sure we'll find something else to fill that void. And that's the thing, we're constantly creating different types of work, etc. So this has to be a constant evolve. And the solutions will have to be constant to keep up with the different changes of work. So we didn't used to work on laptops all the time, we do now. So, watch this space.
Yeah, and I guess since the pandemic as well, a lot of people's workplaces have changed.
Correct.
Correct. Yeah, it's forever changing. We've come towards the end of our session, and I always end it with one last question. Obviously, this is adapted a bit more towards Nextstand, but and towards ergonomics. What is one piece of advice you would give to digital nomads who are looking to improve their work setting?
Well, other than get a Nextstand,
yeah.
that's a great solution. We'll undoubtedly tell you where you can go and do that in a minute. But I think one thing to do is actually stop and assess what it is that you're doing and how it is that you're working, because I think too often people don't do that. Going full circle back to where we started this conversation at the beginning. You said, when I said that, I used to go out and assess people, that quite often, people just roll up to where they work and just get on with it. And I was amazed over the years just to see how many people, when I started looking at people's workstations or how they were working, and I go, why have you put that over there? So that you're constantly having to bend or stretch for that, or you're constantly having to twist for this. Why is your telephone right at the back of the desk or whatever? And the amount of times that people said, it's just always been there. I've never even thought about it. So that's my main bit of advice is stop and do an assessment. And if you don't know how to do that, get an assessment. There's plenty of people who are workplace assessors out there or ergonomists out there. LinkedIn is full of them, and so is Instagram, who can do an assessment of your workstation. It's worth spending that money to get an assessment of, what am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? What would work in my situation? Because something that an expert will know is they will understand when you start telling them, this is what I do in my day. This is my work mode, if you like. This is how I do my work. They'll be able to tell you, maybe these are things that you can do to improve the flow of your work and how to do that work more productively without getting injured. But they will also know, looking at the whole situation, looking at you as a person, what bits of equipment to recommend as well.
Thank you for sharing that. I think that's really valuable because, like you say, we don't always take the time, especially if something's there. It's already just kind of, you leave it, you get on with your work and you go. So that's really valuable. Thank you. So thank you everyone for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you.
And thank you, Graham, for joining me. We do have a discount on our site for the Nextstand. So if anyone is interested in getting one, head over to our platform and use the discount code. And if anyone is interested in learning more or talking to Graham, how is best for them to get in contact with you?
If they come through to Nextstand and contact Nextstand team through the website, which is www.nextstand.io, then and if you leave a message for Graham, then people can get hold of me there. Otherwise, you can find me on LinkedIn under Graham Coath. Awesome. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks again, everyone. And join us again next week at 5 p.m. We'll be chatting with Carlos Goncalves, who is the co-founder and director of Avila Spaces Co-working in Portugal. So yeah, thank you again, Graham. Portugal. Lovely. Maybe you'll have to check it out. I will. And thank you again. Thanks everyone for joining. Cheers. Bye for now.